Hey dudes, VIP veterans of the DFS Army. I am Choppadong, and this is MLB Made Easy. We released a new patch today, a Domination Station update. Should help. It's kind of interesting. It allows you to designate your one-offs and players that you would only want to be part of a stack. So we'll talk about it a little bit. It's not, I don't know, it's pretty intuitive. It's not overly complicated. So it should really only confuse stupid people like me. So let's kind of figure it out and see where we go. Again, this would be a real short video. There's just not much to talk about, and we're getting pretty late in the building of the slate. We did find out Washington and the Phillies postponed because somebody somewhere wasn't wearing their mask, right? I mean, that's really all this is about, I guess, right? They weren't wearing their masks, but whatever. It's a COVID issue. I'm joking. I'm just being a douche. We're not going to talk about players and where everybody should be and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to show you what I did. I got like a 190. That's kind of your number today for cash for using the minimum slider. 50 lineups, 3 uniques, 33% randomization, because that's just kind of the wheelhouse that I sit in. It makes sense to me, you know, so whatever. Use less random, use more uniques, use less uniques, whatever you want to do. Totally set it up your way. I guess I just kind of really put it just kind of smack ass in the middle. So I'm a very, very non-committal person. Maybe I'm afraid of commitment. I don't know. You'd have to ask my wife. Projected ownership cut in half on the 190s down to about 95. So round up, round down. Use a 90, use an 80, use a 100. Probably could even use 110. Again, probably doesn't matter, just as long as you're in that sort of wheelhouse. And for those that don't know, I'm a preacher of the fact that we can build heavy chalk. The chalk is usually right. The chalk is usually a smart play. It doesn't always work. In fact, in baseball, it usually fails. But it still gets us there more often than non-chalk does. So by playing that chalk, we're playing a long game. We're playing season long. We're not playing tonight. We're knowing that more often than not, the chalk is going to factor in, and we're going to be there on the nights that it does. And then we'll get off of it in a few areas, and that's what this minimum projection allows us to do, is get off of it with our stacks. And then the rest of the lineup will kind of be forced to come back into the chalk with one-offs, secondary stacks, pitching, whatever, which, again, I tend to get off the ownership in my main stack, and the rest of it, I really don't care. I'm letting the projections in the machine do all the work for me. I don't do a ton of research unless I'm doing videos or specifically teaching people questions, which I do love to do. Don't get me wrong. But it doesn't, once you have a process, once you have a routine, once you've done years and years and years of research and hours of, process trying to kind of hone what you like, what you don't like, and then get it refined to where you can just kind of go click, dump lineups in and then you really don't need to do a lot more research anymore unless you enjoy it. If you enjoy it, be my guest by all means. So once we're set up like that, we come down here. I just used a 4x3 tonight. I'm just really not in the mood to jerk around with all this other stuff. 40% maximum on stack 2. That gives me at least 3 teams, because 40 plus 40 is 80, and it will force 20% of somebody else in there. If the optimizer really, really loves a certain team for some reason, it caps them at 40, and I'm forcing it to move on and look to somebody else because baseball is crazy. Over here is where we're using the others. I cut it down. We got, 20 teams, 20 offenses on a 10-game slate, 9 games now. And I just cut it down to the teams. I went and did power score today. If you guys don't know what that is, that's basically adding the implied run total with the Sierra of the starting pitcher and then the Sierra of the bullpen. Add them together to see who Vegas likes in the implied run total and then who has the shitty Sierras in terms of pitching. Puts them on a level playing field. And I end up with, like, the White Sox have the highest power score on the slate of 148. Angels, 145. Cincinnati, 141. Miami, 130. Baltimore, 135. Arizona, 134. Milwaukee, 138. Texas, 131. Philly, which is now gone, was 133. The Mets, surprisingly, are very low owned as a unit tonight. They're a 124, which would kind of be next. So it skips over a lot of the other teams like Dodgers, Yankees, Atlanta, whatever. They're not carrying a lot of ownership necessarily either. But when I'm looking at the teams that are carrying ownership, again, I kind of do play some chalk, so I kind of get into that realm. That's why you see some of my heavier exposures are on some chalkier teams. But what you're going to notice is that Chicago White Sox are the chalk team on the slate, and I dropped them down to 10% instead of 20, 18, 12, whatever. Dropped them down to 10. Did the same thing to the Angels. Wherever they are, dropped them down to 10. And then I slid everybody else up. That's the nuance, that's the wrinkle I throw at it. I take that 1 or 2 teams that project as chalk, and I bump them down to the middle of the pack, and then I slide everybody else up there. So I'm usually heavier on ranked teams 3, 4, 5. And then I only used 9 teams tonight because I'm just, like I said, I'm not in the mood to fool around and try and play everybody or whatever, just the mood I'm in. So I cut it down to the top 9 teams, and I'm just going to YOLO it. And if it goes off, I should have significant portions of everyone, and that should help me out. Instead of just a bunch of 1% and 2% out there elsewhere, and praying for a miracle if one of those guys breaks the slate like Seattle did recently or whatever. I'm just banking on what should happen, will happen, and if it doesn't, I'll make my bed and I'll lie in it. If it does happen, I should be set up with multiple shots, around various teams, and then whatever this throws together. And what this is going to throw together is the White Sox and the Angels over here on this side, because the projections are going to like that. They're being the chalk. There's the team stacking thing that I'll talk to you about here right after this. There's my pitchers. There's my stacks. So you can see Cincinnati, Miami, Baltimore are higher. Then Chicago and LA kind of middle of the pack. So you can sort of see how I have them ranked personally. And then look, there's Chicago. Ooh, that's a lot of, 14 is not terrible. But there's Chicago and LA kind of right up there at the top where they should be. And then others mixing and matching. So that's where I'm scooping my chalk, is in that secondary stack. So if they go off and this goes off enough, then I can push enough lines through the cash line and probably net a profit. If not, get close to breaking even. And if stuff does go my way, then maybe I'm a little lower owned and I'm set up to get really, really deep into the money and possibly take something down. Doesn't happen most nights. In fact, it doesn't happen 99 out of 100 nights, but we only need it to happen once. Ask B. Watson last night, who won $100,000 for us. So congratulations to him. Shout out. Woo! Click the paperclip, and that's going to stack up your team. That's going to say, what this tells you is only use the team in its stack. Only use this player in a team stack. So with Arizona, what I've got about 6 or 7% of them, it will only use these guys in those stacks, but it will allow Peralta, Cabrera, Christian Walker, Cole Calhoun to be one-offs in other lineups. That's the intuitive part of this. That's all it is. So I scroll down here, and the Braves, Freeman, Jock Peterson. These are guys that can, Swanson hits a homer, Albies hits a homer, whatever. Heredia, Kevin Smith, I don't know. Not very often those guys are going to be required one-offs to win a tournament. So I'm pretty much just using them in stacks. And I scroll down a little bit more. Baltimore, most of my guys are being used as stacks. Trey Mancini's got some pop. Mountcastle's got some pop. Mullins, leads off, can put up a decent game. These are guys that I will allow to be one-offs somewhere else. Everybody else part of a stack. Your guys like Rizzo, Bryant, of course. Patrick Wisdom can hit bombs, right? But like a Duffy and Ortega, Chirinos, I don't see there being very many possibilities where these guys are going to be required one-offs to win a GPP. That could happen. Anybody can pop off for 2 home runs in baseball. But here's what I want to explain to you, and then I'll let you go. Oftentimes what this feature is going to do is this feature is going to allow you to designate only use one-offs that can break the slate on their own. And that's what you want for a one-off. I don't want a one-off that puts up 6 points. I want a one-off that can go double dong for 35. So if my one-offs are the guys that can typically break the slate on their own, what are they? Generally, they're your 3, 4, 5 hitters. They're your pricier, more expensive bats. And so what that's going to do by forcing oftentimes more expensive bats into my one-offs as a concept, and you can certainly go through and allow some cheaper guys to be in there so you don't restrict the machine too much. But by allowing generally the anchors and the higher priced studs to be my one-offs, it's forcing my stacks to pick up more value pieces. I'm not often going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4 stack of expensive Cubs. It's going to be some bottom of the order, some gap stuff, using some value plays. And that's where those guys belong. Those guys don't typically break a slate on their own. They need to be part of a stack. They need the surrounding players in their stack to parlay those points with RBIs and runs and all that kind of stuff to help them work together as a 4-man unit. because they can't usually do the lifting out there on their own as a one-off. One-offs are your Bryce Harpers, Fernando Tatis, Vladimir Guerreros. Those types of guys make great one-offs. Again, I'm not going to say that Robinson Chirinos can't be the one-off that you need to go off to win a tournament. I'm saying it's not very likely. Robinson Chirinos can hit a home run, but he does better with a Rafi Ortega or, with Jason Hayward or something like that, kind of batting near him, whatever, so that they can kind of play off of each other and kind of accumulate and parlay those points together, which then again makes that stack a little more damaging as a functioning unit. So that's the idea. That's the concept, and that's what this feature allows you to do, is take more control and allow you to then really designate who you want your power one-offs to be. So hopefully that makes sense. You just click the button on or off, and then you run your stacks, and when you see, you'll see lineups that are right here. There's a 4x3, Chicago White Sox, LA. So this is chalky. I mean, it's funny how that's the first one. But 4 Sox, 3 Angels, and Booyah, a Joey Gallo one-off. He's going to be maybe super low owned, but I mean, shoot, Joey Gallo couldn't hit 2 bombs, right? Come down here a little bit more, and there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 Miami Marlins, 1, 2, 3 White Sox. So it's chalky in the second half, a little bit lower owned in the top half, and then boom, Ohtani one-off. Okay? 4 Reds, 3 Sox, boom, Adolis Garcia, who was on a run earlier this year. Maybe he comes back. I don't know. 4, 3 Ohtani, 4, 3 Ohtani, 4. Interesting. That's a 1, 1, 1. I did not have that one selected. It must have run out of some room. But there's a 4, 3 Ohtani, 4, 3 Gallo, 4, 3 Ohtani. A lot of Ohtani one-offs. 4, 3 Jared Walsh, who can have a big game, right? He can carry a team. Albies, maybe. I mean, these are getting a little sketch, but, they're not. I don't get super excited to see them. But at the same time, these are guys, Adam Duvall. These are guys who can go boom skis. And that's the guys we want to see. A lot of Ohtani in here. So I don't know. Would I cut back on him or not? I don't know. Talk to me if he hits a home run. If he hits a home run, I'll be thrilled. If he goes 0 for 5, I'll be pissed. But such is baseball. Am I right? So again, use these guys. There's 4 Arizonas with a Garcia one-off. I mean, just use these guys. Use those clips, those little paper clip icons, to designate guys you only want in your stacks, and then leave the guys unchecked that you want to allow to be one-offs elsewhere in other lineups. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Hopefully, we just profited on the early slate. Somehow we had KK in St. Louis in a cash game and -7 points. We still doubled up. We scored a 191, which is just ridiculous, being that you can't score 200 points when your pitcher gets you 40 half the time. How the hell do you do it when you get you a -7? But the rest of the games went off. We were there. We were present, and boom, pushed us 15th out of 56 people for a small double-up win that I just used to track my cash game building skills. And we're winning 4 slates in a row now after losing 4 in a row. The 4 we lost were just by like 8 points, like 2 per slate. Really, really close to the cash lines. Seems like we've snapped back a little bit. We got lucky today, obviously, with the -7 of the pitcher. We still cashed. And the MME was up, I don't know, 15%, something like that. Showed a profit there, so yeehaw. We're going to parlay that. We're going to push that into the night slate, and we're going to go tear shit up. So let's go talk inside the chat rooms, guys, as we get close to lock. And I'll peace out here, and we'll talk to you on the inside. Later.